Okay, let's check out this California accent and let's see if I have it.
Hi, in this video I'll be talking about Californian English, an English dialect that can be found in... Now, California is a very diverse state. In fact, it is a majority-minority state, which means that races that are deemed as minorities make up over 50% of the population. Because of this, you can probably guess that there's a large diversity in not only languages, but local dialects within the state. I'm going to be mostly focusing on the English spoken in the urban areas of California, including cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles,
By the way, I'm down here.
San Diego, and other cities near them. Alright, first let's talk about some sound mergers that have occurred in California English. First, how do you pronounce these two words? Do you pronounce them the
Caught and caught. Caught, caught.
same? If you're from California, you probably pronounce these two words the same. I pronounce both of them as caught, so caught, caught. But in other parts of the United States, they would be pronounced quite differently. The first one would be caught, and the second one would be pronounced like quat. Now, here you can see the distribution of the caught-caught merger. You can see that the West pronounces these words the same, although there are some regions like Western Pennsylvania, New England, Canada, and some parts of Scotland that also do this merger. But as you can see, the majority of the Eastern United States does differentiate between these two sounds. Alright, now, how do you pronounce these three words?
Mary, Marie. So Mary, Mary, and Marie.
Pronounce them all the same? If you're from California, you most likely pronounce them all the same as well. For example, I pronounce them Mary, Mary, Mary. However, other parts of America do distinguish these three words. How are they different? Well, the first Mary, as in to marry someone, is actually pronounced with the A in cat, so it would be pronounced like marry. The second word would be pronounced with the E in pet, so Mary. The third word, as in the name, would kind of be like the A sound in 8, so it'd be pronounced more like Mary, a little longer. Now, this merger is seen almost everywhere throughout the United States, but these three words are usually distinguished in New Orleans or some parts of the Northeast. Now, do you pronounce these two words the same? If you're from California, you probably don't pronounce these the same. Individuals in the South do tend to have this merger though. They pronounce both of these words as pin. Now, looking at this map, we can see how the South does have the merger, but if you look closely, you can also see a purple area where the merger also occurs in California. This is actually Bakersfield. For some reason, people from Bakersfield pronounce these two words the same, just like the people from the South. I guess now as Californians have another reason to hate on Bakersfield. Alright, now let's talk about some actual sounds specific to California English.
Okay.
The first sound change is that the A and the I sound tend to become long before NG. So I becomes E and A becomes A. For example, king would turn into king, dancing would turn into dancing, and rang would turn into ring. There's also the raising of the A sound before N and M. So A would become E. For example, ram tends to become ram. The next major sound change is U fronting. If you ever want to find out if someone is from California, look out for this feature, as it's very uniquely Californian. Now, the U sound is found in all dialects of English, but in California, it's slowly inching towards the front of the mouth. The best way to describe this sound would be to say that it sounds like the middle of English U and French U. So let's make this easier by giving a diagram of the mouth. The typical American U is pronounced at the far back of the mouth, pronounced like U. The Californian U is pronounced more in the middle of the mouth, sounding like U. And for comparison, the French U is pronounced like U. As you can see, the Californian U is slowly shifting towards the front of the mouth. Of course, this depends on the speaker. Younger speakers tend to pronounce the U closer to the front, while older speakers pronounce the U closer to the back. To give you some context for the sound, let's use the famous Californian word dude. Usually, Americans would pronounce the word dude as dude, dude. The Californian version of this would be dude, dude. While if a French person were to say it, it would be more like dude. Ooh, 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 ooh. Now let's talk about uptalk. Uptalk is the raising in pitch at the end of a declarative sentence. So, for example, it'd be like making a statement sound like a question despite it not being a question. It is a very controversial feature of Californian English as it tends to annoy speakers of other dialects. An example of uptalk would be that rather than saying, I'm looking forward to hosting the party, and I'm having everyone over, and I'm cooking all the food. In uptalk, this would be, I'm looking forward to hosting the party and having everyone over and cooking all the food. To hosting the party and having everyone over and cooking all the food.
Oh no, it's fucking airhead girl talk. I fucking hate that. I've always hated that.
This is very common in Southern California in both men and women. It originated in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles, and it was first noted around the 80s and 90s. According to a 2014 study from UCSD, around 16% of sentences in Californian English use uptalk. Also, according to the study, women are 2 times more likely to use uptalk to hold the floor. Holding the floor just means that you intend to keep talking after your statement. Hopefully you haven't found my uptalk in this video annoying. It comes very naturally to me and it's quite hard to control, and it's just part of my dialect. Okay, let's talk about some words that were invented or popularized in California. Probably the most famous word from California is dude. This word actually has quite an interesting history.
Dude.
It originated from doodle, which originates from the phrase Yankee Doodle Dandy. This term dude was used by Westerners to refer to any Easterners that bought their clothes from stores. Eventually the word changed to just refer to anyone accustomed to ranch life. It then evolved to refer to anyone who was wealthy. Finally, in the early 1900s, the word reached the west coast of California. The word didn't gain its newest meaning until the 1960s, when surf culture adopted the word to refer to close friends. Due to Hollywood's proximity to SoCal beaches, Hollywood eventually took the word and inserted it into movies and TV shows. This has then led to the spread of the word all throughout the United States. And although other countries may not use this word really, one certainly would recognize the words from movies and TV shows. Now let's talk about like, the infamous like.
Like.
We all know the mainstream uses of this word. For example, comparing things. He was like a bird. Another use is when someone finds something agreeable, such as I like them. Like can also be used to express a wish. For example, would you like some wine? Some uses of like specific to Californians would be its use as a filler word. For example,
Like, you
I
know.
talked to him and like he got mad. Another usage for like that I personally enjoy is its usage as a quotative word. For example, rather than saying he said no, one could say he was like no. I enjoy this usage of the word because not only can it be used to quote someone, but it can also be used to describe body language and expressions. For example, he was like waving his hands around. Alright, that's really all I have to say about the Californian dialect of English. It's a dialect that sounds very similar to General American, but through these examples I hope I give you some insight on how Californian English does have a few quirks here and there to make it quite unique. Make sure to subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it. I'll be making more linguistics videos in the future. Thanks for watching.
I don't know, guys. How much of that stuff did I fall into? What do you think? A little bit? A lot?